Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the T.O.A podcast. I am your host, Onvermel. Greeted here again today by Sakta. Hi.
Hi.
How's it going?
Not bad.
Good.
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 How are you?
Just a day off. That's okay.
Actually.
But anyways, so today going to wrap it a little bit back down to Bionicle for all you folks. Bring
Oh, really?
bring it back down to earth. Bring it back to the
I
bonkles.
gotta say, I'm absolutely shocked. Bionicles, we're talking about this? Dumbfounded. I'm lost for words.
You're just lost in general, I think.
Yeah, that's not hard to do.
No, but just because in very recent times I had built a Artahka mock, a Zarzahni mock, I feel like that's a good spring off point for our conversation. Well, I know it is because Ek and I are, when we last recorded a podcast, that's what we recorded about. But the mic wasn't plugged in properly. And so all that audio was gone.
So you didn't just re-record the podcast?
Look, when you re-record a second podcast right after you failed one, you don't really want to talk about the same thing. This happened before when we tried talking about the Great Spirit Robot.
That's true.
And then we were all just like, ugh.
Did we ever go back to that topic?
Nope. Not yet, we haven't. Don't worry, we can always go back to this sometime. But I just remember with Zarzahni and Artahka, there being a fair bit more to say. At least I had a lot more to say about it than I would have thought. And also, one reason why I wanted to kind of talk about, well, just because something else I saw on the internet today, but basically, I had built an Artahka mock, You
Yes,
know it quite well.
I'm somewhat familiar with this mock that I have seen in person.
Surprisingly enough, I haven't tweaked it around that much. Usually when I build a mock, there's a lot more tweaking that happens after. I've been very tweakable with it.
I do have those two levels of mocks. The ones you build, you're happy with, and then the other ones you're like, I don't want to break it, but I'm not happy with it. It needs fixing.
Well, sometimes it's like, you think, this looks good. I could do better. And you just keep tweaking it for like a week straight.
That pretty much sums up my Zarzahni and my Artahka. Zarzahni I built right off the bat. The only thing I really did for the longest time was just, I was happy with them. I did tweak them now just because most I was just trying to change colors, but I thought I could do a little better. But then there was Artahka, who I've basically rebuilt 3 times.
Yeah, and pretty much I finally got around to building an Artahka. Well, the thing is, I wasn't intending to build an Artahka. Basically, we were briefly talking about Dark Green Hero Factory parts. I think specifically
Yes.
chess piece, whether or not it existed or not. And so, like a day or two later after that conversation, I just sat in my bunk room. I was just in a building mood, and I was looking at my dark green armor and going, let's build something with this. And shortly after the torso was done, I had an idea like, this might end up being an Artahka. And it ended up being an Artahka. And there was a couple of things where I tried, making kind of connect to the set, because he actually got Zarzahni's feet, because I actually had an extra Zarzahni. He's got the cape, he's got shoulder pipes, kind of like Zarzahni.
And
there's certain little other things that are Zarzahni-esque.
And even when you look at the official canon mock for Zarzahni that now exists, I would say it even feels like...
You mean Artahka?
Artahka, sorry, yes. Official Artahka. You look at it and you're like, it feels like you took this, scaled it down a little, and obviously built it yourself.
Actually, I think the sizes wouldn't be that different. Mine would just be more lean rather than big and bulky.
I just picture that Artahka being like 12, 14 inches tall.
He definitely isn't that big. He looks bigger than he is, but the thing is, he's also a very thick build, very armored. So it's like,
I think it's because he's got that big, shieldy, wingy.
The same thing that Takanuva has in his.
And Takanuva is pretty big.
Well, Takanuva is 14 inches.
He feels like Takanuva, but buffed out.
But I do know he's smaller than that. But either way, he did end up looking a lot like at least similar design, aesthetic going towards him. But it didn't help that he also used a lot of Pearl Dark Gray, which the winning model used as well. I mean, I did end up using the Gen 2 mask. And then a little bit after, after I built this, and I was like, I really like you. And then I looked at my Zarzahni and went, I kind of want to build a Zarzahni model that looks like this. But the thing is, what Zarzahni models is, as I think most people know, pretty much when you think of made-up Zarzahni, everyone has the same image in their head. Pretty much a mock version of the image from the original on Bonk Island's books. Because everyone wants to make that Zarzahni.
Because that's the only... Because it's an image of Zarzahni that exists.
So you pretty much always get a blue and green Zarzahni with a very similar, really big shoulders and such. And don't get me wrong, mine does have my general shape to my Zarzahni with the larger kind of big shoulder pauldrons hunched over.
You did take some inspiration.
A little bit, but I also wanted to make him look like the set. So he has the set color scheme. He has the same shoulder armor as Zarzahni. He's got his hands are even the same color as Karzani. Like I pretty much tried making a one that matched my Artahka, one that matched the set, and one that at least reflected the canonical earlier appearance of Karzani.
See, I find this funny. Like you're saying, most people will try to copy that image, and then there's
Nine
the
out of
two
10.
of us who have both, like as you said, yours is definitely closer, but then there's mine, who's a towering titan who really looks nothing like that. The only thing that I would say from the image that's really transition is I did add shoulder pauldrons on mine, and I have a very distinctive belt buckle.
Yeah, no, there's a little thing. I mean, think about the image itself because it is just like a picture. Of course, it's going to be harder to
Picture of a very questionable art style.
I don't know. I think the art style is fine. I want to call it questionable. I would just call it.
I feel like the art style doesn't really affect the Bionicle part well, like the original comics did. So trying to like reflect
Okay,
that
the thing is,
into a build.
when you're comparing every Bionicle pretty much art style compared to the original artist who did the original comics, yeah, everything's going to feel different. But it's like
basically it
the
had
thing
no
is,
Lego representation.
it's not even Stuart Sager's art style. I'm pretty sure.
It didn't
Wait,
have.
did he do that art style for that? No, he came in I think
It
after.
doesn't really reflect any Lego in it,
I
so it
actually
was
don't
really
remember.
hard to mimic it for the sake of you're trying to make a Lego creation of something that's not based on like at least with the other Bionicles in there, they're sets that they hit the image with.
The nice thing about that is too, it also gives you a little bit more freedom on how do you want to make him
That
look
is
like
true.
it. You're not like, well, I have to use normal green Locky arms, which don't exist, but I have to use them, sort of thing.
No, you have to use normal
Which-
Vaki arms.
Which would be kind of annoying.
That'd
But
be cool. Those would be awesome.
interestingly enough, though, uh, but one reason, I mean, this is just the basis of what I was talking about last time with Ek. But the reason why I think the conversation got as interesting was the dynamic with Artahka and Karzani. Because let's be honest, I think everyone under the sun who knows Bionicle lore like decently well, or at least knows the history of like Bionicle, can pretty much all agree that it pretty much felt like Greg said, sorry for making Makuta not actually Mad Nui's brother, so I'm going to make these new characters who are brothers. They have the same like jealous like they're pretty much.
You could have like honestly, I think if you rebooted Bionicle, our attack on Karzani might have been a better.
That's
far better
the thing
parallel.
That's actually what I was talking with Ek about. Like if they made a Gen 3, having Artahka and Karzani as like the two main hit figures. Don't get me wrong.
Brothers.
I generally believe that Akimu, who essentially is an Artahka Mananui hybrid, and Makuta, like their part of Gen 2 is the best part of it.
They definitely, yeah, I would
and
agree
it doesn't help
that
that the Mask of Creation was arguably one of the coolest, one of the best things in Gen 2 for visuals.
They definitely made Matanui more of an Artahka when they made Akimu. They definitely took the Matanui, but made him more of an Artahka.
Pretty much, okay, this guy is revered, is like, he's an Artahka, but he's Makuta's brother.
But I think there definitely would have been a ballsy move if they'd actually said, not Makuta, Karzani.
But let's be honest, they probably did that with Makuta to basically be like, okay, we know what people wanted about Makuta in the original stuff by having be the jealous brother. I love that they did that.
I actually feel like
and because his name's actually Makuta in Gen 2.
Yes.
So honestly, like, that dynamic of the brothers in Gen 2, it was pretty much, Makuta and Mananui had it in the first couple years, and then that kind of went away, and it was brought back with Karzani and Akimu, and then...
Karzani
But there's this thing that annoys me about Karzani, okay?
What?
There's like he's originally showed up in like one book with when
an image,
well I'm not saying like character wise, like he first shows up with the Island of Doom, or
yes
the second one maybe, I can't remember which one it actually is,
but
either way, he's a character, it's created there. He's kind of integral for Greg to figure out how these T.O.A don't have the same mass and torn by the rules already set up.
He was
And he was pretty much a plot created character, right? But he was really cool, really interesting, and I would say grew the mythos of Matorn by having the location of Karzani, which, let's be honest, essentially is a Matorn version of Hell.
Yeah.
Which I'll get to that in a little bit better.
Concept.
Well, it's fine. It's really cool. And like I said, it richens the Matorn, and it doesn't feel out of place.
No.
Unlike a lot of other stuff. So you have that. Okay, a new character. Doesn't really get any other appearances for a short bit. So okay, whatever. He was just a character. They make a set of him. Cool. All he gets is an online serial where he doesn't actually affect anything with the grander theme, like not in the comics or anything. He's just a Toys R Us exclusive that has like a little story about him and Lezovic that don't affect really anyone else technically.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, sure, understandable. He's not the main villain. He's kind of a side set, understandable. Finally, we're at the point now that's like, okay, Bonko got canceled in 2010. Greg's allowed to continue the stories. Oh, finally, we might get something. And he kills him. I'm like, really? You killed Zarzahni? Probably arguably one of the most best opportunities to bring in like a threat.
He would have made the suitable. Makuda's dead. Who can we get? There's Zarzahni. He's a pretty
Zarzahni was almost already built up to be the replacement, almost like a little bit. And I'm like,
especially when you
what
set up
annoys
the
me
fact
about
that he's like becomes aware.
What really annoys me about it too is when I was looking at Artahka and Zarzahni, right? These two basically larger than life, almost mythical beings, right? Couldn't if Greg really wanted a great being in the Mature universe, couldn't you theory just made Artahka and Zarzahni technically great beings? The thing is, Artahka, you never see him in the story, right? He is larger than life.
Not until an online serial.
Very much, you never see him. He's larger than life. He's like almost omnipotent, right? And he can use a legendary T.O.A, which means Zarzahni can use a legendary T.O.A. So I'm just like, if you really wanted to bring great beings into a more physical character, I'm like, those two characters would have worked. If someone told me they were great beings, like earlier in like before, like let's say in 2008, someone told me they're great beings, I probably would have been like, you know what? I believe this.
You got to keep in mind though that whole great being thing was like a contest.
Well, yeah, it was something.
I've grown less satisfied with the results, and
I've kind of been. The only reason why I liked it a little bit was because I mean, a brown character is a great being.
Finally, someone of significance is a brown.
But the point being, I'm like, I think this just shows that Artahka and Zarzahni have a lot of potential.
Yeah.
And honestly, because like I was looking at their appearances in Bionicle, I'm like, neither of them really showed up in all that much, despite being like semi-intact. Like they both were characters created as technically as plot points. I mean, Artahka wasn't created as a plot point, but he was used as a plot point for the Mystica to look like they are. Basically, both of them were used to like, okay, we got new T.O.A sets. How do they look different than the old appearance? Zarzahni or Artahka, you're our men. Pretty much, they're the official wardrobe, creators. Which I mean, don't get me wrong, I like how they are portraying the story. I just really think they could have had more potential.
Underutilized.
And honestly, I do think Gen 2 with Makuta and Akimu definitely took notes from those two a little, because like the fact that they're makers, mask makers, is definitely the okay. There's a little bit, and the mask of creation, like you could tell, like okay, it's not just Mananui and Makuta brought down to earth. There's definitely an Akimu. Zarzahni, I would say, has a little less of a.
But it's still the more concept that they're actual brothers.
But it's like
one's just always lesser than the other.
Exactly.
Very much the Zarzahni. Zarzahni was the lesser of the two. He just never had the skill of Artahka.
Yeah, what I do also like about Akimu and one reason why I think bring Artahka and Zarzahni as characters back into Bionicle if you wanted is bring back Mananui is like this more also goes to the reason why making Akimu and Makuta how they were I think was a great decision. Because let's be honest, bring Mananui back in his original form, and Makuta as an original form, both as basically the embodiment of good and evil.
Yeah.
All right, in the definitely more modern world of being, religious tiptoeing sometimes, it could be a little dicey sometimes to be like, okay, they have like a deity, when it's like, okay, if you don't want to go down that route, all right, Gen 2 really I think got the perfect pick. But if you want to go maybe just like lean tiny bit more on the demon hell side, okay, go with Zarzahni maybe, because it isn't hell. It's just the place where lazy people go to get fixed. It's a real place.
It just happened to be a poor job.
The thing is, it's not like you go down to a deep cavern and you find the gateway to hell. You just go to an island.
It was just unfortunate Zarzahni was bad at his job that people stopped getting sent there.
It pretty much just has such a bad reputation that it's turned into the Pittsburgh of the Bionicle realm.
Basically, it just went downhill. It just, I think he got into his head, he wasn't better. I think he started to keep people who were sent to him. And
well, I think at the point he really just started keeping everyone because he was ashamed to send them out.
Yes.
I think is what it was. And I think, honestly, like I said, I'm pretty sure when Greg was creating Zarzahni, he's like, I like what Makuta was original, like, being the jealous brother, and I'm going to create a character around that concept.
Basically, they still have the jealous brother.
Because, like, he's the jealous brother, and it's kind of like, the thing about the Zarzahni is, he wasn't originally a bad guy.
No.
He definitely seems like the younger brother who basically was like, Artahka was the favorite. He was better at everything. He won the mask. and he gets everyone's
The
admiration,
funny thing
and you try your best
with
and you just fail.
with that, like I can see it both ways. He can be like, the second brother. Artaka the first gets everything because he was the first. But I can also see it like Karzani was the first brother, and Artaka was the skilled younger brother that got everyone's adoration.
Maybe that's why they were fighting for the master. Kurzani's like, look, I was the older one. It
I
should be mine.
deserve
But
it.
Shaq is like, dude, I'm better at building. Exactly why you shouldn't get it. Because I need the help. Which,
I actually like the
honestly,
concept.
I also like the idea that Artaka isn't necessarily a good. Well, okay, he's very much.
A pure.
He very much is a I serve Matanui. I do what's good. However, he's also 100% the proponent of the needs of the many will outweigh the needs of the few.
He's like an ascended being from Stargate. He's not a bad person by nature, but he's above our petty squabbles.
Very much so, and I kind of like that he's like on the almost on the morally gray side, and even Tarzani's like
He's
before he went crazy, he
He-
wasn't. Like it was like
he's
the
not
thing is
evil,
he
he's
turned
insane.
he turned evil. I would
He
say
just got a little corrupt. That's how I put it. He got a
very
little
much
corrupt.
so, and I like just generally I think
He's disturbed.
the two characters and what I kind of like about Tarzani is Artaka pretty much has had one description, and he's pretty much it's always been that
Yeah.
green, gray, tall. He's very consistent. Tarzani, first time you hear about him, like goldish bronze. I think he's referred to as.
I have to go
It is mentioned that he like when the first time he was like
before
referred,
an image was even
he was like referred to as being goldish and like ornate, I think.
or tarnished bronze.
Something like that. Like, that, right? And then you see the picture, and then you get the set. So you get so many different views. And on one hand, it's like, okay, can we make this work? Of all the characters that have a bunch of different appearances, Tarzani's kind of the one that it works, just because if he fixed everyone else, as one person, I think, came to the conclusion, surely he fixes him and patches himself up.
He's patched himself
And
up
I
'cause
kind of like the idea that maybe at one point he was, like Artaka, like ornate and
very
like
regal looking,
like because he was an important being, and it just over years kind of just stopped caring. And actually, the thing about that is, today was the first day I've seen a mock portraying a golden Tarzani. That's Tarzani with gold on him. And I was gonna,
on Flickr?
actually no, I found it on Tumblr, but I'm gonna show you that actually after. But I was just saw that I was like I've never seen a gold Tarzani. I see it and I'm like, oh, so much so that I was tempted to when my Mask of Illusion comes, or sorry, Mask of
Creation.
no, what
Oh, the Ulysses.
Mask of
It's the Ulysses.
future
Alternate
alternate fates, Ulysses. Yeah, that's not really roll off the tongue.
Yeah.
Is I was half tempted to painting it gold to match my Mask of Creation. However, the reason why I'm not going to do that is the Mask of Creation is a legendary mask. The Ulysses is just a
mask.
special mask. It's like the Mask of Shadow,
it's a unique mask.
It's a unique mask. However, I'm not going to paint it with the blue and green like it's supposed to. I am going to basically do green line with silver highlights.
I went with green and black because my Karzani does not have blue. He is more green, black with grays and silvers. So I do need to get a silver marker to give his horns and the stitches silver highlights.
Yeah, no, basically, the stitches and the horns I'm going to do silver, and then, I'm not, and then also line. Lucky enough, Ek does still have some line paint that he used for some Madame Torn bodies, so I know that's available and in need of being loved and used.
I find it a little interesting that I made a Karzani, which led me to make an Artaka. You made an Artaka, which led you to make a Karzani.
Indeed. And now we just basically have Ek who's made a Karzani, and it's like, all right, get an Artaka. He comes back later. He just brings out an Akimu with some green armor instead of blue.
Honestly, I can see Ek going more the route, the more gold, like the original description of Karzani, just to be a little more different from the rest of us. And the fact
but he's already pretty much built his Karzani, so.
Oh, sorry, right, yeah. For some reason, I was thinking.
Which, by the way, is actually pretty interesting design. So if you go to X Flickr,
and he's
look, he doesn't go on there. He's going to eventually probably post it on Flickr to some degree. And I know I've linked it. I mean, or just find Elf and Knight on BZ Power and such. And I'm sure if you hunt him down, he might. But I don't know when he'll post. I don't think the mock's done. I haven't even seen it yet because unfortunately I've been working. I was sick and working a lot of closings lately. So I haven't had a chance to go to his place in the last while, despite having an opportunity because I have new flavor due to try.
Oh, there's another flavor?
There's a purple one.
Oh.
And do you know what the thing is? He tells me this on Saturday or something, or Friday, and I was busy Friday night or whatever. But the thing is, then I closed Saturday and Sunday. I'm like, I just need a chance, and then today I'm busy because, I might possibly maybe go over later tonight if he's got time. I don't know. I'll have to talk to him. But anyways, my just like I was going to say a bit of a do, and so it's just, and it's actually kind of interesting because the only two characters this week came about we realized a bit later that all of us three have made a mock of a character is Makuta and Zarzahni. Essentially, the two like largest villainous threats to the
Tohunga or Matoran of the same name
they
do not
don't count.
They
those
really are
those aren't necessarily
Those are just
mocks.
slight recolorings.
Though those are pretty
Basically
much
mass
they're
swaps.
modified sets.
We did not come up with this creation. We did not take this character and build a creation of
those
this
are what I quite literally call made ups.
Yes.
They're not sets, they're not mocks, they're made ups. So, but no, like I said, like Zarzahni, I do think, and Artahka, like honestly, if you wanted to bring back a couple characters but didn't want to do the thing that Transformers does and always bring back Megatron,
the same character.
Because
basically they want a different Optimus Prime and Megatron.
Thing of this about Transformers, they always bring back Optimus Prime and Megatron, and then every series usually cycles through like a different side cast. But those two main characters are always there, except for like the one time where they very much purposely were like, nope, Optimus Prime's dead. We're going to go for Bumblebee, and we're going to go for a different Decepticon. However, they still ended up bringing back Optimus Prime eventually. Megatron.
I would totally say.
But it wasn't a very good show.
You could probably get away, I think, without Optimus Prime, but I think you could keep Megatron with someone else. I feel like that would work easier than keep.
Honestly, either both of them are so entangled now that I feel like
I don't think you could just have a show without both of them right off the bat.
I think either have both or neither because Optimus Prime's character is so entangled with Megatron's, like you can't have one without the other.
I think you could just have generic Decepticons.
Yeah. I don't know. This is coming from a person who's seen a lot of Transformers and a very.
This is coming from a guy who has not seen a lot of Transformers.
Speaking of, I'm so excited that my Lego Optimus Prime should be coming in the year tomorrow or the day after.
It was said its expected date is tomorrow. And
expected. Like I said, I'll give it like 1 day, like a leeway sort of thing.
Yeah, there is a little leeway, but I have noticed that more often than not, especially with FedEx and whatnot, their expected date is pretty good. Like once it ships,
my Shapeways mask still doesn't say have an expected arrival date. You know, it got shipped like last week. It still doesn't have an expected arrival date.
It's coming from the States, I can tell you that.
But the thing is, like, I swear, do you like the tracking is just like, we take like 2 weeks to update your tracking.
I love the whole it'll take like a couple days to update. And it's like, it could be here by the time it updates from this spot over here.
Yeah. So, but definitely, I would just think like the idea basically of having these characters who are. What I kind of like about both of them is they're both kind of on the sidelines to the grander events of the T.O.A versus Makuta. They're kind of there doing, Artahka's kind of helping on the sidelines, while Zarzahni's inadvertently not helping.
If you're trying to do like your own Bionicle story, but you kind of want that epicness that has Makuta and Matt Nui sort of thing, you could totally have like a side story following like Artahka and Zarzahni. Alongside the rest of the universe without really having to contradict, because there's so much leeway with these
Also, one interesting thing about those two characters is they never bump into each other in the story. As far as we're aware of, they were created, they fought for their mask, and then they went to their respective islands and never talked to each other again.
And they were never heard from again.
Despite them both showing up in several different stories, you never actually see them again together. I'm not sure if I like this or not. I kind of like the idea that, they really don't like each other so much that, they didn't care ever.
See, we know Zarzahni is
a recluse.
Not so much a recluse. He has disdain for his brother. He's annoyed. He's.
Oh yeah. Well, Zarzahni has absolutely.
But yeah, he hates his brother. It doesn't say Artahka hates Zarzahni. It just says Artahka just doesn't associate.
Artahka doesn't care. He doesn't care about many things. And also, let's be honest. At some point, really after I think the Makuta attacked Artahka and ransacked it and such, he pretty much shut off his, he boarded up his gates essentially going, nope, no visitors anymore, goodbye everyone. Because at least back in the early days of Matorna, it was literally like a legend was basically said, if you wanted something built, you bring the parts to the gates of Artahka, come the next day, and it would be said that it would be made for you in the way you wanted. But pretty much that was early, that was back in the day, it was you go to Artahka, get stuff built, you go to Zarzahni to get fixed. And let's be honest, both of those places didn't quite, let's be honest, Artahka place is now no longer a place you go to fix. It's more a place to get rewarded if you're really good. And then he basically says, all right, everyone, we are now the high elites. We're staying here. Don't talk to the commoners outside. And Zarzahni's like, well, you guys are ugly. You're staying with me now. Because if you guys leave, I can't let people think I'm bad at my job. You wouldn't let people think I'm bad at my job, would you?
So It was Artahka who gave the T.O.A Nuva their adaptive armor, right?
Yes.
Okay, so all the T.O.A Nuva actually see Artahka.
No, they don't see him. They just hear him.
Oh, okay. It does make me feel happy that Lewa Nuva actually gets to meet Artahka.
And the thing is, Artahka's still a character around.
Yeah.
But so, there's I don't know. I just really like just like looking into the characters. I just think there's just a level of.
There's a missed opportunity with them.
And the
Even
thing
if
is,
it's a
everything revolved
reboot
around
for
those
them.
characters doesn't really bother me too. Because like a lot of stuff Greg created, there's usually like little details like, oh, this doesn't work or that causes more issues. The only thing that was related to Artaka that I don't like is that he's apparently the one who created all the Tonuva's spare masks.
The whole spare mask thing.
I mean, let's be honest, that should have been something that just should have not been acknowledged.
It should just been another thing.
They should have just been like, I mean, they
But
could have
like the
honestly.
spare mask thing in itself is annoying. Like, first off, how did they not find these masks looking for the island? But the fact that T.O.A
I
have
think
spare
it's
masks
allu-
lying around the island,
I think
have
it's
issues with.
alluded that pretty much when they returned to Tonuva, Artaka dumped all the other masks on the island. I think it's like loosely alluded to. I think Greg's kind of. It should have been one of those things where it's either just should not have been acknowledged or it would have been like this. Oh yeah, when the Tonuva went in the Prodermis, their gold masks were
It's broken up
into six Nuva masks, and the Traga, being the jerks they were, hid them again to test to see if the Tonuva were who they said they were. Because I remember when the Tonuva came out, the Traga were like, "Are these the same people?"
Yeah.
And so having them hunt for the masks might have been a test, which I think
I remember them questioning if these are the same people.
I remember
but it's
them
been a while.
I remember them questioning if they were the same people, and I'm like, if they used the hunt for the mask as a way to basically tell, okay, if you were truly the T.O.A, you'd be able to get these masks without our help.
I think one of the things that was definitely a problem there is,
But let's be honest.
With the original mask, they turned into the gold mask. With the T.O.A Nuva, honestly, other than like the actual books and just the fact you could buy the sets, it never really acknowledged that they looked for other masks.
Well, let's be honest. There was like a book written just to explain why these mask sets existed.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong, I'm glad that it did, but that's the problem when you have collectathons and you have to basically work them into canon. There's always going to be some stuff like that. So it's
Honestly, I was saying the first three waves, my biggest issue with all of Bionicle is just the fact that there are spare masks littering the island.
well, the Traga kind of hid them. I think
That made no sense though.
it only makes sense the more you think about it. Like
That's why
things.
that's the one thing I have issue with. And the T.O.A Nuva do not help this.
My theory is that the Traga hid them specifically as a way to train the T.O.A up. Because they knew they were coming, and they were like, okay, look, we're Traga. They may not listen to us very well, but if they have to work for their masks, we're tricking them into doing, workouts and training stuff.
But at least they had the gold
Which brings up a
mask
question:
aspect,
how the frick did the Traga get those masks in some of those locations? I'm pretty sure Nuju helped with 90% of it with his mask of telekinesis.
So
Nuju, put that mask there.
So in other words, what you're saying is after the T.O.A get all the masks, they say Nuju's wait, you could just move things with your mind this whole time? We could have just got you to grab all of our masks.
That would have been no. But T.O.A. Where would have? But as a wise Trojan once said, where would be the lesson in that? Gotta bring Traga and Luma into this. One of these days, I think I really just need to talk about like Traga as a podcast episode, because I think so.
Or
But
just,
yeah,
like the whole order of things.
yeah. Either way, I think we veered off topic. It's about the 30-minute mark. Supper is nearing by, so this is a good enough time as any to
Other than like
call
actually
it here.
talking about our individual mocks, yeah, I think we've pretty much covered it.
I mean, at some point, I am planning to do a video where we all bring our Zarzahni mock and slash Makuta mock and do a video for each while we're comparing, talking.
Yes.
I don't know exactly how the setup I'm going to do, but we're going to do something. All right. All right. So yeah, thank you all for anyone who's listened to this far into the podcast. Please like and subscribe. If you want to get me to 100 subscribers, I will bury a new one in the dirt. I should have done this at the beginning of the video, but who cares? Thank you all for listening. I've been your host, Onvermel, and this has been the T.O.A. Podcast, and we are retiring from the night.